Carafano joining us now. Carafano.
There is something that you can do, you personally as an individual, to make the world safer for your children and your grandchildren. And that is listen to Almond in the Morning.
Yeah, Jimmy will be on with me on TV today as well, so we'll double dip and, of course, countdown to next week and the Almond in the Evening speaker series with the Heritage folks, Jimmy Carafano, Genevieve Wood, Senator Jim Talent joining us as well. That's next Thursday, the 4th of May, at the Norman Probstein Golf Course Clubhouse in Forest Park. Tickets are free. You got to still register to attend at 971talk.com. And then Jimmy will be in the studio with us when we do that. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, man. People are going to run for the doors. Hey, can I run something by you?
Yeah.
I had this idea. Okay, so 3 data points. Congress refuses to build a wall. The judge blocks the sanctuary city, implementation thing that's blocking the Justice Department cracking down the sanctuary city, and they block the implementation of this extreme vetting.
Yes.
And so put those together, and what do you have? So you've got the left essentially cheering that they've got these tremendous victories against Donald Trump. They've stopped the wall, and all those are kind of Pyrrhic victories because one is they're all really symbolic. I mean, this administration can still crank down on the border even without the additional funding, and they're doing that. They're going to crank down on illegal immigration regardless of what stupid cities do, and they're doing that.
Right.
And they're going to fight to keep the terrorists out of the country regardless of what that judge says, so they're doing that. So what the Democrats have managed to do is not actually stop Trump from doing the things to keep the country safe, but they've actually kind of raised a red flag and said, yeah, we're the party that's, against fighting illegal immigration.
Right.
We're the party that's against fighting terrorism. So I think this kind of ridiculous kind of judicial activism and kind of, gimmicks in the Congress, they're just kind of digging themselves into a deeper hole.
Well, and maybe even digging themselves out of a job, because when the midterms come around, we already see the approval ratings of Congress far below those of President Trump, and they look at Congress, Republican and Democrat, as being in President Trump's way. And the only thing that's going to actually be problematic with that is there's a possibility that if Republicans are held accountable, they'll be run out. But that's just unless, of course, the Republicans are primaried by people who actually are on Trump's side on this. So it's not always a foregone conclusion that Republicans will lose control of the House because of this, because there are other candidates out there. But believe me, They're being held responsible.
Well, me, I do policy, not politics, so I don't do the political side of it. But I think what Trump's actually managed to do is he's kind of playing these guys,
yeah,
and they're kind of playing into his hands because they're not stopping him, and this kind of resistance thing, all it's really doing is sharpening the partisan divide in the country, but it's not really slowing the president down in terms of implementing his agenda.
Right. I told Chris Wallace this last time around. I said, this was during the health care deal. And I told him, because he said, this will be a horrible defeat for President Trump. I said, no, believe me, the people who support President Trump will not be holding him accountable or not faulting him for what happened. They'll be faulting Congress, and indeed, that's happened. So what's the deal with North Korea? People are holding nuclear war drills and all that kind of stuff. What's going to happen here, man?
Nothing. I mean, they're just idiots. First of all, if you look at the North Korean provocation, since the height, and what the North Koreans are doing is they're still doing provocative acts, but they're actually doing lower acts of provocation on the scale of escalation. So they're actually de-escalating, right? Because nobody really wants a war, and everybody really got something out of this. The Koreans got to look tough, aggressive. South Korea and Japan got a affirmation of the U.S. commitment to the alliance. Trump looks tough. The Chinese got to say, hey, we're working with Trump. So everybody gets something out of this.
Yeah.
Nobody gets anything out of actually starting a shooting.
Right. It's all about self-preservation. I thought it was really amazing to watch China suddenly become so cooperative. I realized people were attacking President Trump for laying back on the currency manipulator label, but there was a method to that, in my opinion, in terms of coercing China to be more playful, to be more cooperative.
I think that's absolutely right, and I thought it was really interesting that the Chinese came in and they chose to try to kind of develop a relationship, and I think that was out of respect for Trump, that they respect that he's a tough guy, and they felt that they had to deal with him as a responsible leader, otherwise they were just going to tee him off. But here's the trick. If the Chinese don't deliver on something, I think Trump will bring the hammer down on
Yeah.
it. I mean, I think he'll start sanctioning things, and hopefully the Chinese are smart enough to get that. I think part of bringing the whole Senate over is, well, first of all, I thought that was genius. One is he eliminates the filter of the media and everybody else kind of commenting on what his plan is, and so he unfiltered delivers it 100%. Look, this is exactly our plan. So quit telling us that we're not all in the same music or that we don't know what we're doing. Here's our plan. And the other thing is well, that's a message to the Chinese that, look, I just told 100 senators what I'm going to do. So, I'm kind of going down this path.
Right.
So I think it's, on the foreign policy stuff, and you know me, look, I am not a cheerleader. My job is to just call balls and strikes. I'm not going to the administration. I just have to deal with the hand that's dealt there.
Right.
And my professional assessment is, on foreign policy and defense, it's a very mature administration, it's a very responsible team, and they're actually doing okay.
Right. And I actually think that when it comes to the way President Trump operates, it's not very different from the way he's operated for decades as a businessman. And
No.
even though I know you can't always run government like a business, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
but I'm talking about in terms of negotiations and interpersonal relationships, he carries over this tough guy, I'll crush you image if you don't help me out, and I'll help you out. And that's how it works. And that's how he's developed into a multimillionaire.
And here's how I know how right I am. So we ran the numbers yesterday. Since the election, on average, 5 foreign delegations show up at Heritage to talk about the Trump administration. That's 5 a day, 5 days a week since January 20th. So you run the numbers. And that doesn't count being asked to go over to embassies and meet with people and everything else. So if I don't know what I'm talking about, why does every foreign minister, every foreign delegation that comes to Washington, D.C., why do they want to come to us and have us explain what these guys are doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wow. That's a fascinating figure, my friend.
And you guys get it for free.
Yeah, I know, as we always do. You were the first to tell us that, in fact, it was this Obama State Department that hosted this meeting where there was this nefarious contact between Jeff Sessions and the Russians. So, hey, buddy, listen, we're looking forward to having you in St. Louis. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we're getting ready to roll out the red carpet for Jimmy Carafano, Genevieve Wood, and Senator Talent.
Okay, get out of the bomb shelter, dude.
All right, brother.
Back up
Good.
into the light.
Yeah, you talked us off the ledge. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. At JJ Carafano is where he's at.